Hey everyone, Rob Golfi here. Listen on to this show right now because we're going to talk about, would you want a fourplex right next door to your house, or would you partner up with family or friends to buy a cottage? Listen in. Hello everyone, this is Rob Golfi with REMAX The Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Hamilton edition with host Rick Samprin.
Good morning once again. Another beautiful Saturday morning in the city. And it's beautiful because we're talking to Rob Golfi, sales representative, REMAX Escarpment Realty, the Golfi Team, and he's going to get your home sold. And for top dollar in this wild and wacky spring market, the number one REMAX team in Canada is the Golfi Team. If you want to sell your house or you're in the mood to buy one, give them a call at 905-575-7700. Online, the website is robgolfi.com. That's Rob, Golfi.com. They're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, you name the social media platform. The Golfi Team has some awesome listings and some interesting videos from time to time. If you have a topic idea or a question for the Golfi Team that you would like addressed on a future show, don't be afraid to send them an email. Questions@robgolfi.com is the email address. Again, that's questions@robgolfi.com. If you missed any of that, don't you worry. I will be repeating it ad nauseum throughout the program. Before we begin, and as we always do, actually, we're talking about the real estate life that it is of Mr. Golfi in the last week. What has been going on?
You know what? I've been busy. I'm very active. I don't think there is a team leader like out there like myself that loves this business as much as I do. And I was just talking to my media team, and we were just comparing ourselves with like our online presence and just the love that I have for this business. I guess because of my love, it shows. Through our business that we are number one in the industry, not only just in the Hamilton, Halton, Niagara, Brantford regions, but we're number one in Canada for with REMAX and in Canada, and number two in the world with REMAX, which I'm proud to say. So I just wanted to say thank you to my team members and thank you to all my clients that entrusted us in helping them sell their house and buy a house through us. We work very hard to make sure that we get them top dollar. If they're buying, we try to negotiate a good deal for them. But I just love this business, and I work with my agents. Like sometimes they, if they call me, I just had a meeting yesterday, an all-day meeting yesterday, and we were just discussing that I've never said no to any realtor on my team if they needed help. Me going with an appointment with them or anything, I've said yes all the time. So I just hope I can keep this energy level going for the next 20 years, which I think I'm pretty sure I've got it in me to do that. My energy level is probably the same or even greater than I was probably 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and 30 years ago. So I'm just a lot smarter now than I was years ago, but I do have a high energy level, and I think it's a rare thing. It's a DNA that I got that a lot of people don't get, and I happen to be one of the lucky ones. I won the lottery of full of energy and being positive and excitement and all that kind of stuff. So I have to thank my parents for having a combination of them to have me. So that's great. But I wanted to talk about like how the market has been. You can't go by what history is. So I got here months of inventory, just say for the Hamilton area. And I went back as far as 2015, and it shows like months of inventory, like February 1.9, 1.8, and it's just, normal. But now if you go like last year, like this year right now in 2023, it's hard to gauge, but we're at like 2.9 to 2.4 months of inventory for January, February of this year. So our months of inventory has increased. Now, the one thing that really messed up the trend of following trends is that COVID, the interest rates, how people are spending, buying, it just totally changed the dynamics. Like you cannot go by, like 5-year, 10-year trends. Now, the one trend that we did pick up is that housing prices are moving up faster than they normally did. Usually house prices double every 10 years. In some cases, it's doubled in less than 10 years. Now, but I still hold the double every 10 years because sometimes who knows what's going to happen. Like we had, like in 2017, we had a spike at the beginning of 2017, then it dropped. So that was the peak at one moment. 2015 was great. 2016 was good. Then the first quarter or first half of 2017, it was great, and then it dropped. So we had the same thing that happened in 2022. That was a peak, then things dropped. But it's happening sooner than it usually does. Usually, you'd have that, maybe not real. I call it real estate recession or real estate adjustment. Usually would happen probably every 10 years, but it's actually happening sooner. So we're getting the spike, but we're getting the adjustment. But the adjustment is not coming down as much as the spike went up. So, and that's why they're not putting interest rates down yet, because they don't want to have another boom happening, especially in the spring market, because the market is doing well right now. There's no doubt about it. But I don't want people to understand that the spring market is doing well, that housing prices are going up. The spring market's doing well based on more activity is happening and people are out buying, but the prices are kind of, they're moving a little slightly up from they were maybe last year, towards the end of last year. But I just let you know that there's more buyers out there in the marketplace. That not necessarily you're going to get, 50,000 more than what it was your neighbor's house was last year, or $100,000 more. So there's positive outlook out there. We know it is expensive. It is getting tougher. And especially the housing is becoming very difficult to afford. And that's why they're not adjusting the interest rate yet. They're probably going to do it this summer. And if they don't do it, it's because the housing market's strong and they're just going to leave it. You know what I mean? If this market continues the way it's going right now, especially in March, they're going to hold off because they do not want this market to go out of control and people end up not affording even more. People, it's a struggle out there for people to afford homes.
I want to spend a little more time on days on market. So I just want our listeners to understand what the numbers mean. So in March of 2024, that number is 3.5 months of inventory. That compares to 2.4 in February and 2.9 in January. So does that 3.5 mean that we have enough homes up for sale that if we sold them all and no other homes came on the market, we would be done with them in 3.5 months? Is that kind of how to explain?
Yeah. So based on the trend that's happening in the sales trend that's happening, let's say we put no more houses up for sale, zero houses up for sale. We have enough inventory to last for 3.5 months. So after 3.5 months, we will be down to zero to no inventory. So that just shows you the inventory level is pretty good. There's quite a bit out there. There's a lot that are overpriced, but you can see during at the end of 2021 or 2021, you barely had even a month of inventory. It was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of inventory. So you have to, and then you know what I mean. So things were pretty 2021 was a great year, and the first quarter of 2022. Then things started falling down, and in the end of last year, the last quarter of last year was brutal. It was dormant. The market was dormant, basically. People that were buying houses were the people that had to buy a house. They had, they just needed to buy a house. And the months of inventory at the last 4 months of last year were over 4 months of inventory. And we knew that the market was dormant. We knew that things were tough. But the homeowner that needed to sell and had to sell, they had to keep dropping their price. That same house probably coming in to the spring of this year, somebody could make money on that. So it's just, I know what I can gauge that. I can gauge it. Just like I said in Burlington, you can buy a house in Burlington November, December, and sell it in March, April for probably $100,000 plus more, and make $100,000. So, but yeah, the months of inventory gives you an indication of the buyers in the marketplace if they're buying. And
it's interesting to note, you mentioned the dormant, last quarter of last year. 4.5 months in September, 4.6 in October, 4.1 November, and 4 even in December. Those are the highest numbers on this chart. And this chart that I'm looking at dates back to 2015. So it's probably even, you'd probably have to go back to the 2010s to find, numbers like that.
Exactly. So that was probably one of the worst 4 months of like since 2015, and probably even further. And it's probably the worst in 20 years of months of inventory. It's been, it was a tough 4 months for anybody that needed and had to sell.
And if we think that number's bad, Niagara, they were in the 7-month range.
Yes, that was tough. I know they were, and they've never hit that ever before. And then the end of last year, they were in the 5-6 months of inventory, and then the end of 2023 in the seven months of inventory. And right now, I mean, in January, they were at 5 months of inventory in Niagara. February, they dropped down to 3.7. So right now, it's hovering at 5.6. Now, the month's not over yet in March. So that'll probably drop down to probably 4 months of inventory. So Niagara is a little bit of a struggle right now. You better be priced right in Niagara, because if you're not, you're just going to be sitting on the market. And we sell a lot in Niagara, and we basically, we kind of show them, say, hey, this is what's going on. Here's what your competition is. But Niagara picks up usually a month or two later after Hamilton. So basically, it's like I said before, the wave comes from Toronto. The market picks up in Toronto, and then it hits Hamilton, and then it goes to Niagara. So Niagara is kind of like a late bloomer almost in some times. So it just you just got to pick it out exactly. So it's like seeing the wave coming from Toronto. You could see it coming, but it's going to take a few months to get to here. Attention all realtors and real estate enthusiasts. It's that time of the year again. We are hosting our highly anticipated Win in Any Market event. Get ready to elevate your real estate game like never before. Join us at this luxurious Liana station in Hamilton for a morning filled with insights, strategies, and networking opportunities that will take your career to new heights. You can expect to learn from industry legends such as Mark Salerno, Madeline Towns, Matt Campoli, and Dave Hutchison, who will join the influencer panel and discuss modern-day marketing and what that means for our real estate game. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Nick Bontis, professor in strategy from McMaster University, will provide valuable insights and actionable tips to help you work smarter, not harder, and of course, an exclusive panel with myself and Sam McDaddy, the official realtor for Toronto Raptors, as we speak on the importance and future of real estate teams. Discover cutting-edge strategies and trends shaping the industry and open doors to the best networking opportunities of the year. You will be able to connect with top realtors, industry leaders, influential figures, and exclusive Win in Any Market vendors following our speaking event. You can shop and connect to our vendor marketplace, as well as enjoy a networking lunch with fellow attendees to discuss everything you've learned. It doesn't get much better than that, and you have intimate access to all of this for free. This event is known to hit capacity, so don't delay. Secure your spot today. Avoid disappointment. Head to wininanymarket.com to register now. Together, let's win in any market.
REMAX is Scartman Realty, the Golfi Team, the #1 REMAX team in Canada, as you heard Rod mention in our opening segment, the #2 REMAX team in the world. It's the Golfi Team. Call them today to get your home sold at 905-575-7700. Online, robgolfi.com. That's Rob, GOLFI.com. You can also check them out on TikTok and X, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads as well. And for an instant home estimate, you're kind of wondering, if I put my home on the market, how much would it go for? Well, you can get a pretty good idea plopping in some information online at golfihomevalue.com. Again, that is golfihomevalue.com. Let's get into a very intriguing thought by the Ontario Liberals. They are saying, listen, you know what the province should do is amend the official plan and zoning bylaws, and for any zone, any piece of land zoned residential, we should be allowed to build 4 residential units up to 4 stories. Rob, what do you think about this?
You know what? As an investor, I think it's fantastic. But as a homeowner, do you want that next door to you? That's the thing. So I think in in areas like newer areas, I don't know if they'll allow it. I know a lot of residents, if they're strong, they're going to try to stop it. I think what they should do is build a subdivision of duplexes, fourplexes. So you kind of have the park. It's made for the parking. It's made, you know what I mean? Like you have fourplexes. If you get a couple living in each unit, they have 2 cars. That's going to be 8 cars. You need parking for 8 cars. Now, if you put a fourplex in a regular residential neighborhood, let's say there was a bungalow, and it's 60 by or 70 by 120-foot lot. Yeah, you probably got the room, but you're going to have a lot of front lawn as a parking lot. Is that what they want? Like or do you bring it to the back of the house so that you keep the front looking decent? So it is going to be tough. You're going to see it happen. But I think there's going to be a lot of restrictions if they're allowing that, because a lot of people don't want a fourplex in a regular residential neighborhood where you got cars parked on the street, you got cars filled up, because usually, and everybody does it. If you don't have a double wide parking spot in front of your house, you're parking either in front of each other. So one has to get up both you have to get up in the morning. One has to move the car, let the other person out, or vice versa. So, and that's tough enough as it is. But now when you got eight people with cars, it's going to be tough. But I do think maybe duplexes is probably the way to go. Fourplexes, I think, is a bit much. And downtown, like in the downtown cores, yeah, maybe you can do it. Where the city centers are, where the high density is, but they're introducing this. I think there's going to be a lot of restrictions depending on neighborhoods, and like if you live in a neighborhood that houses are like $1.5 to $2 million, you're not going to want a fourplex in that neighborhood. There's no way. It just I wouldn't want it if I was living there. So, but it'd be too expensive anyway to build one there, because land cost would be expensive if you have to buy a house, tear it down, and build that. Yeah, no way.
When I read this, I thought, okay, it's an interesting idea, but I kind of just thought of the current, neighborhoods that we have. Let's just go to, I don't know, Crown Point or somewhere in the East End where the homes are really close together. And now, what are you going to do? Tear down a house and build, a 4-story kind of fourplex? I don't see, even if this were allowed, I don't see many people saying, all right, let's build this.
No, I don't think so. But I do think there will be ones built. The investors are going to jump in on this and go for it, and maybe that's what they want. And like to me, owning a fourplex, like I was looking at this one building, and I think it was a sixplex. It had 2, 4. I can't remember if it was a 6 or 4plex. It was built after November of 2018, and we know anything built after November 2018, you're not under the rent control with the landlord tenant board. But like I said, I do think it's they're gonna have to put a lot of restrictions on it. Me as a homeowner, there's no way I would want something like that next door to me. Like you don't want somebody tearing down a house next door, and all of a sudden you see this 3 or 4-story building going up, and you're like, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? Like I think they have to restrict certain neighborhoods and stuff like that. And I don't see this. It's going to be tough for them to pass this, but we need to do something. And like, we're starting to, like, our country, we got more land than most countries out there. I don't know why they're not, allowing regular residential houses. That's a big cause of our problem with housing. It's because it's expensive, because they're holding back on land, green land. Eventually it's going to be developed. So why not just do it? We got the land to do it. Just do it. And, but they're trying to protect this, but it's eventually going to be lifted. I mean, they didn't have those thoughts when people were coming here in the mid 1800s, 1900s, early 1900s. But now all of a sudden they want to protect it, and they still want to bring immigrants in. So you either have to make up your mind. Don't bring immigrants in and then protect it, and then we're fine. But if you're going to bring immigrants in, you got to open up the land and do it. And I know people don't like the idea of turning green space into housing, but guess what? We all live in a house. That house that you're living in was was green space at one time. So, like it's, like we want to grow as a country, and we've got the land to grow, and it'd be probably 2,000 years or 5,000 years from now, we still will probably have a lot of land, and it'd be fine. So I don't know. I think they can't make up their minds what they want to do, and they're causing this problem, that this housing crisis that we're in.
You make a good point with the traffic too. I mean, if we're adding a 4-story fourplex, and we have, let's just say, for sake of argument, 6 vehicles now added to this one property, if that property is in a neighborhood that is close to a school, I mean, the traffic impacts would be quite severe. So that's definitely something that they'll have to take into consideration. Let's talk about million-dollar listings. There is a report from pointtohomes.com. It did an analysis of February real estate listings in Canada's 70th biggest cities and towns. And it found that Ontario and BC, by far and away, had the most homes for sale listed at more than $1 million, which is not a surprise. We have the biggest cities in the country. Why not have the most $1 million homes? What may be a surprise, though, was number one on the list. And because I think most people would probably say Vancouver, maybe Toronto. Number one on the list, though, was Delta, BC, posted the highest proportion of listings over $1 million. 80.5% of the homes for sale are listed at $1 million or more. Were you surprised to see Delta, BC, number one?
I don't even know where is Delta, BC? Is it
it's in the Delta?
Yeah, but yeah, no, I was surprised. You know what I mean? It's probably a small community. It's, and there's not many homes there. They're probably, but yeah, they've got 80% of their homes. So forget about moving there if you're thinking of, leaving Ontario to go to the west and find something cheaper. You're not going to find it in Delta, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not a huge community, and I know this just looking at the current listings. There's 303 current listings, and that's not a large number. So 244 of the 303 listings are $1 million or more, and that's how you get to that 8% figure. Number two on the list is Vancouver. 70.5% of the listings in Vancouver were more than $1 million. And I looked at this, and what surprised me is that I would have thought that every home in Vancouver is over $1 million. Like, one home in Vancouver is under $1 million. I want to see that.
Yeah, no kidding. You know why? Because I remember when my friend moved out there, and he moved out there probably 30 years ago. I'm trying to remember. And everybody had an apartment in their basement. Everybody. If you bought a house. So what Vancouver was 30 years ago, we're experiencing now. That, for some reason, I'm sure, but there's a lot of homes right now, like a bungalow or whatever, 2-story, they have apartments in the basement to help them either pay for their house or whatever. But in Vancouver, I remember when he's moving out there, and he said everybody in the street had an apartment in their basement so they can afford to pay for the house. And Vancouver's always been very expensive. And I think he lived in Richmond, BC, so which is not too far from Vancouver. So, but yeah, it's and that's what drives the prices up, because now you got more money coming in to pay for the house. So my friend had a tenant in the basement. His wife worked. He worked. So there's 3 incomes that are coming in to pay for that mortgage on that house. So you need 3 incomes to pay for a house now. So you got to find that third income, and then you know what makes it even tougher. So what about there's a couple that they got married, they lived together first, but now they got married, they want to have kids. They're thinking twice about having kids because one of them has to get off on maternity leave, and they're not going to get their full salary that they're used to getting. They're going to get, EI, and EI only pays what, $550 a week, and that's it. And they're probably used to, making double that net a week or whatever. So it changes a lot of the dynamics of people growing a family in this country because of homes that are, the cost of homes.
By the way, Delta, BC has 102,000 people. I just checked the population. So about half the size of Oakville. So yeah, quite tiny. Yeah. But back to this list of which markets have the largest share of $1 million listings. Delta, BC, number one, 80.5%. Vancouver, second, 70.5%. Third is Oakville, 69.1% of its listings top $1 million, followed by Richmond Hill at 63.5%. And then Richmond, BC, you just brought that up, 63.2%. Newfoundland, St. John's, Newfoundland, is at the bottom of this list of the 70 cities analyzed. Just 1.5% of homes in St. John's cross the $1 million market.
Wow. See that? It's just, and it's going to get out there eventually because people are starting to move out there. A friend of mine lives in Halifax. He's a realtor in Halifax. And when competition started happening out there, they had no idea how to deal with it. They've never experienced that. And this was probably about 5 years ago, or I think it was around the 2017. And he's calling and says, Rob, like, I've never experienced this. We got like 5 offers on this house. What do you do? How do you deal with it? And so we kind of coached him on how to deal with it. And now they're getting that. And same thing, I remember in Niagara, they weren't getting any multiple offers. And we were getting calls from agents out there say, how do you guys deal with this? Because in Hamilton we had that experience, and that it's just the dynamics, how things have changed in this world. And that's what's, we're in a world where housing prices are going to keep climbing as long as, and it's not going to stop. Like, I mean, it will flatline in some years, and then it's just going to keep going. And it didn't drop as much as all the analysts and that predicted. It didn't drop as much, and now it is starting to climb a little bit, and that's why I always say, people, you better get on board now, because if you don't, that house is going to be worth a lot more money in a year from now than it is right now.
Toronto had the highest number of listings over $1 million in Ontario, or after Oakville, at 37.6%. Montreal at 22%, over $1 million. And if you're wondering where Hamilton ranks on this list, we're number 26, 33.7% of the homes listed in Hamilton over $1 million. We're 2 spots below Toronto, 1 spot above Victoria, BC. Number 26, that's not bad. We're in the top 30.
Yeah, we made the cut. We made the cut.
Yeah, at least we're not St. John's, Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Let's get to this. We got a few minutes to talk about this, and this is an interesting one. It's homeowners and realtors, according to experts, should be protecting themselves against title fraud. Are we seeing some cases pop up here? It is.
It's happening more and more often right now. The fraud level out there is so sophisticated right now. And apparently there was I think it was a Toronto couple. They started receiving letters in the mail from the bank saying that, they're not making their mortgage payments and their house is paid for. And they're going, what's this about? And these people, and the people that they go after are seniors, because they know that their houses are paid for. So what they do is they try to get, make up a driver's license of themselves, and they can sell the house. Remember how earlier we've talked in the past where people were selling houses that weren't theirs. They were vacant houses possibly, or they were, and they would go to the lawyer's office and they sold it, or they call a real estate agent, it gets sold, and it just goes through the whole process, and they get the check, and guess what? Now all of a sudden the actual homeowner comes back, whatever, from a 6-month being away in Florida, comes back, finds out that's not his house anymore, it's somebody else's. So there is a lot of title fraud out there. I think anybody that's owned a house prior to, I think the 19, let's say prior to 2000, or I think they should look at getting titles insurance. If they still live in their house and their house is paid for, they should check with their lawyer if they have titles insurance, or go through their documents, because that protects them if there is fraud. But we can go on a little more about that after the break.
Talking about title insurance, and basically this title fraud is when the ownership or title of a property is fraudulently changed or documents are forged to allow a fraudster to illegally sell or refinance a property. And we've had some instances. There's one in Toronto, I think it was a couple of years ago, where the homeowners get a call to say your home has been sold. And they're like, well, what do you mean? We own the home. We're making payments. We're okay. And apparently they were defrauded. Someone had stolen their identity, and their home was up in arms. And I think it's still under investigation by Toronto police. But this is a very scary situation. It's still happening. Why, Rob, why don't the banks have someone physically go to the home in question, to say, hey, is this all correct? Like, can they do that?
I know. It's like, you know what I mean? You live in the house, and then like the banks should say, look, but they don't care. They don't care because the lawyer did the paperwork, and the lawyer, you know, he took a picture of their driver's license. Their driver's license looks so real. Like you could spend $5,000 on a high-end copy machine and make like a legitimate looking driver's license. And guess what? Now that's your house. So, but my opinion with this titles fraud, with this mortgage fraud that's happening, it's people in the industry. They know how to access information, and like, you know, they know if your house is paid for. So somebody is feeding them. I don't know if you can go to the to City Hall and see if there's a mortgage on it, but there's like to find information if a house is paid for, get the driver's license and copy that. Like I don't know how they do it. Honestly, I don't know. But if somebody steals or refinances your house and gets money from it, and all of a sudden you're being evicted because you haven't made mortgage payments, which you never had a mortgage on the house. You have to battle that. It's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars to battle that. It maybe even the hundreds of thousands. Now, titles insurance right away, they're going to battle that, and they'll take care of it. They'll make sure that you don't go through that. Well, I mean, you're going through that, but they'll pay that mortgage off. And then they'll go after whatever they can go after, the people that did fraudulently put the mortgage on your house. If you actually have a fraudulent mortgage on there, they'll say, okay, listen, we're going to make sure the banks are off your back. We're going to cover that, but we're going to go after, see who it is. And they'll get their investigators and everything else because they got a team of lawyers that'll take care of that. Now, if you don't, like I said, if you don't have that, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It is happening out there. Titles insurance is so important, especially for seniors. If you've been in your house for more than 35 years, you're not protected. And there's fraud out there like you would not believe. That people are stealing everything. They're stealing cars. They're stealing, robbing homes. They're stealing now. And the biggest gain for these fraudulent people are people selling houses and selling and refinancing. Because you know what? If you got a house that's paid for and you got $1 million house, you want 80% mortgage, and that's $800,000 you're going to get in your pocket if you're a fraudster. So that their payoff is huge. And so if they're getting $800,000 or even $500,000, those people, I mean, they have the technology and the power to do this again and again and again, and they rarely get caught because they go to different cities, different lawyers all the time, and the lawyers takes a photocopy. They don't really. I mean, we're not, police. We're not, we don't know, if it looks like a real driver's license, it looks like a real driver's license. You have to compare yours with theirs. Yes, you probably be able to notice it, but nobody pays attention to it. So it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to defraud. To get money from a mortgage or a house.
Just before we go, I was just thinking about this. I think I have titles insurance. How can you find out whether you have it or not? Do you call your mortgage company? Can you call the bank? Who can you find out from?
You know what? If you call, I think there's two major titles insurance companies out there. If you call each one of them, they'll have your name on there. But if you call your lawyer and you look at your lawyer's documents. Now, how long have you lived in your house, Rick?
I've been since 2004.
You should. There's most likely you probably would have it because your lawyer would have probably recommended it to you, and I guarantee you do have it. Now banks, it's an automatic. You have no choice but to get it. They're not going to allow it because the banks know titles insurance will pay the mortgage. There's not going to be an issue if there's title fraud or anything like that. But yeah, I'm most likely you do have titles insurance because I remember I bought my previous house to this in 2004. And I had titles insurance.
You know them. It's the Golfi Team, the #1 REMAX team in Canada. #2 on the planet. 905-575-7700 is the number to call if you want to sell your house or you're in the market to buy a home. Check out the website, robgolfi.com, robgolfi.com. And for an instant home estimate, go online to golfihomevalue.com. That's golfihomevalue.com. All right, we live in a digital world. We have social media. We're always, the cell phone is our new appendage and has been for years. Artificial intelligence has been wonderful in some sense, and, well, it has destroyed some jobs in another. And there's a suggestion that AI could take over the real estate world. Who needs a realtor like Rob Golfi when you got AI? Well, I'm sure, Rob, you're gonna say that AI is not the way to go, and I would agree with you because a realtor provides a personal touch, has all the information just like an artificial intelligence device would, and has the history of what's happened in our neighborhoods and where to look and where not to look.
Absolutely. We use AI now, and we're deep into it. And I think a realtor, you'll still need a realtor, but you want a realtor that has AI. And if people don't know what AI is, it's artificial intelligence. So we use AI to gather information together, and it's far greater. And it helps us describe a property. We can actually put a picture of a property. It'll describe that room for us. But not only that, but like we'll always need realtors. The one thing about if you have no realtors, the one thing a lot of lawsuits happen with that, especially private deals. You need them. Like realtors will put the information correct, verifying information. Like a realtor is not going to put a property up for sale if there's issues with the house, because they're going to ask the homeowner about issues about the house, and they sign off on that. Like if you know what I mean. So we have to verify the house. So realtors will always be there, but what's going to help the realtor is the AI that's going to make the business even more knowledgeable and effective for us to work. There's it'll be AI is going to be there for good, and we've been using AI for many years, even prior to ChatGPT. We've been using it, but now this ChatGPT and this AI intelligence that is out there right now is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty scary good. Just before we get to the cottage country thing, another thing why realtors are valuable is who wants to do this themselves, right? Who wants to go searching for a house and looking at comparables and diving into the history books? Like, leave it up to the professionals.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we have information about things that no intelligence could even get.
All right, let's dive into cottage country. There's a new report out that shows that prices are set to rise by 5% in 2024. So it sounds like many people are diving back into the recreational property market. But when it comes to the question of whether or not you should buy a cottage with family or friends, Rob, what do you say?
Yeah, you know what happens a lot is the family cottage, the kids have grown up with it, and now the parents are passed away. Sometimes the siblings, they still keep it and they use it because it's working well. It's the third generation that becomes a problem, or sometimes even the second generation, they buy out another sibling because maybe one sibling's not into the cottage, the other one is, but if you're going to buy a cottage with a family or a friend, you gotta set the rules, like who gets it for the long weekend, like the July 1st weekend, or you know what I mean, like who gets it for Thanksgiving weekend, like you have to set that tone for that, like who can they both afford to upkeep the property. It's expensive to have a cottage. I mean, you really got to think twice. But what's happening right now is the people that are selling the cottages are the ones that bought when the interest rates are at 1 or 2%. But now the people that could afford the cottage are coming into the marketplace, and the other ones are selling. So, but cottage country is picking up. There's no doubt, and it's the ones that that probably wanted to buy, didn't buy. Now they have the money to do it, and they're buying. But you got to be very careful when you buy a cottage. It could be a very ugly situation. You may lose some family and friends if you're partnering up with them.
Well, another thing too to consider. I mean, I would imagine that people who have cottages have a quote unquote regular home or their primary residence. Where are they getting this money to buy another house or a recreational property if prices are going up 5%?
I don't know. I was just saying that yesterday. Where is the money coming from? Everybody's got this money to buy things. They're buying, expensive things. So there's a lot of cash out there. People are inheriting the money right now. There's a lot of money being passed down from their parents' generation, and they're the biggest savers. So people are they're getting money right now, and they're buying and they're paying cars and houses and cottages and boats and everything else.
What I recommend is perhaps copying what you did, Rob, and buying the Winnebago and just going out on the road.
That's it. Yeah, I can't wait to get that on the road soon.
Rob, another great show. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And don't forget, you can listen to our show online through Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and many more. Just search for the Golfi Real Estate Show in your favorite podcast platform. Hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show. We're back next Saturday at 9 on 900 CHML.